beginning of my video. Boom!
Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just
on.
kidding.
Blasphemer!
Hello,
right.
Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things. It was over in a snap.
We really want it. Alright, we'll be nice.
Only you can be a Patreon.
Oh my gosh!
You don't need to follow the show to be hyped.
All right, welcome back to Boring Reviews, Boring Land. Nick here.
Gabe, beat me to it.
And we are ready to give you our review, our boring review for Extraction. This is a film that stars Chris Hemsworth. It is directed by a new director I never heard of before named Sam Hargrave, and it's produced by the Russo brothers of Endgame fame. Now, quick fun fact for you, Gabe. Sam Hargrave, the director, he actually played very minor roles in Infinity Wars and Endgame and Thor 3, like truck drivers and guards and whatnot. So I'm not sure how this guy got the directing rights or got the job for the director for this, but that's pretty cool. I could see him talking to Russos like in the, behind the scenes type stuff and getting himself a job that way. It's interesting how this movie, obviously it takes place in India, Bangladesh, and it melds Hollywood and Bollywood, for lack of a better term, together, Indian cinema. But we both watched it. You watched it this morning. I watched it last night. This is on Netflix. As you said to me earlier, #1 train on Netflix. So, you got people like John Campea and Sean Chandler. They're busting out their reviews for it. But we know that you want to know what is our opinion because we do reviews for Hollywood and Bollywood. So let's get into this.
I tell you what, this movie was fabulous, dude. I was not expecting this. Again, I told you I didn't really know if Chris Hemsworth could act. What have we seen him in? Red Dawn was horrible. Okay, but, never remake a movie that's already a classic because you're already walking on thin ice. So Red Dawn was horrible. He got out acted by the kid from the Disney Channel or whatever it was. I can't remember his name. Josh, that was his name. Josh and Drake, whatever. And anything else I've seen, Chris Hemsworth, Ghostbusters, he was funny, but it was okay. I mean, Men in Black absolutely tanked. The only thing Chris Hemsworth has been in that's been good is Thor. I already told you I didn't really appreciate the first Thor, The Dark World. I did not like at all. I like the third Thor, but he's always better as an ensemble. So the question was he going to be able to carry a whole film on his own for the most part? And I tell you what, he did. You saw the emotional pay dirt that actors have to get to, where he made some choices here, and you can see the arc his character goes from in the beginning, from just a mercenary to then really caring about his kid. And I don't want to ruin any of the movie. Nick,
no spoiler.
Nick has told me this is just dropped on Netflix last night, so no spoilers. I'm gonna do my best, but we'll only talk about what you could read on IMDb or see from basically the trailer. But
or maybe something that's revealed in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
But right. For the most part, he is able to carry this film on his own. Now, there's some other really good actors in here. The kid that played the main character, I'm gonna butcher this name. Nick, do you want me to try it?
Go for it.
Okay,
I definitely want you to try
it. Evil. His name is Rudhraksh Jaiswal, something to that effect. This kid is really, really good. I felt his performance was really, really strong. And it's hard when you're acting with a child actor. You don't know if he's going to bring it. You're not sure if he's going to deliver on cue. So you're taking a chance. Like you said, this director who was known for stunt work and stunt choreography, and you can see it because this very much feels like a John Wick movie. The action scenes are insane. Holy cow, man. You know what? I would say this is probably the best action Chris Hemsworth have done, including the MCU, including the Thor. This was awesome. It was more realistic, very John Wick-like. And if I have one complaint, the where they sold me, again, we do a lot of Hollywood and Bollywood, right? So where they sold me was, we have really big Hollywood actors, Chris Hemsworth. We got big Bollywood actors, Pankaj Tripathi. I love Pankaj, man. I'm telling you, Mizupar is awesome. Love them in Gangs of Wissapar. I love him in anything he's in. He's in it for 10 minutes, man, 15 minutes. I'm like, what are you doing to me? Sorry, I don't think that qualifies as a spoiler, but I think our fans should know if you're expecting for him to be a main character in here, he's not. And I thought that was disappointing because his acting chops are amazing. He could have actually lent a lot more to this film, in my opinion. But what did you think? What were your thoughts?
So just to piggyback off that real quick, you're absolutely right, because before we got into Indian films, we had no idea who Pankaj Tripathi was. And if you watch this, if this is maybe, for someone who's not into Indian films before we got into this, our exposure to Indian films was like the villain from Venom. He's an Indian actor, I think, Indian American, or the guy from Big Bang Theory. There's not a lot of these superstars in India that are in Hollywood films. I mean, they are, but you don't really. Jurassic World, you got Irfan Khan, very few peppered throughout. And so when you get a chance, if you are strictly Hollywood, and to see a Pankaj in a film, you're not going to understand remotely how awesome he is and how big of an actor he is just from that film. Like you said, he's in it just for a few minutes. He plays, basically a bad guy in prison or whatever. And it's just a injustice to him, but it still was cool to see him there, because someone like us that now has a background on him as an actor, it was cool to see him in that role, and it was cool to see him doing his thing. This guy's in everything. I don't think he's ever said no to a film, not because he's looking for this, but because I think he loves the art so much.
Right.
But anyways, my overall thought with this film, you already mentioned it. My favorite thing about this movie is the action. The action is insane. It's not just like stabbing someone with a sword or a knife just for the sake of hearing that. It is no holds barred, straight out action. And when you think the action sequence is going to end, oh no, there's a car that comes, or there's a gun that gets fired or something. But we see it in the trailer, that one fight scene inside that building that's got holes in the walls, and that one guy's head goes to the top of that hole of the wall. That action sequence with Chris Hemsworth and those people that have kidnapped this kid is phenomenal. That is one of the best choreographed action films, and we get it in a Netflix film. That is my number one favorite thing about this film. My second favorite thing is the tone of this film. This tone is not taking itself too seriously, but it's also not taking itself as a silly thing. It's taking itself seriously enough. Chris Hemsworth delivers that performance that is the rock, the foundation of the tone for the entire movie. This is a dramatic action film. It really is. And it was really cool to see the performances in there. It was cool to see the meshing of different actors from different parts of the world. It takes place mostly in India and Bangladesh, but it was really cool. Even Chris Hemsworth, I got to go back on my comment in the reaction we did. I said, he's much smaller now. He's much less muscly. And, you just don't get any justice in that trailer. This guy is still jacked. This guy is more jacked than I can ever dream to be. And when he extends his arms and you see his triceps upon triceps muscles, it's definitely quite impressive. But he's more than just that action guy. He actually gives a really good performance. You are absolutely correct in this film. My biggest complaint for this film is there's really no original plot whatsoever. When you watch the trailer, you get the entire plot. And when I was watching the movie and it was starting off with, him kind of just laid back, and I did like that. He's laid back and the guy's telling the guy to stop swearing, and then he busts out an F-bomb to tell him to stop swearing. That was kind of funny. And he pops up and he jumps into the water. I was like, oh, that was cool. I saw it in the trailer, but that was cool. And then he's doing the meditating, reminding me of a kickboxer, where he's trying to forget, or maybe he's crying about what happened to his kid. But I'm watching this movie okay, I know someone gets kidnapped. So the kid's going to get kidnapped, and then Chris Hemsworth's going to go after him. He's going to extract him. There's no way it's going to take 2 hours. So everything that can go wrong is going to go wrong when that happens. And that is basically the plot of this movie, where he's trying to extract this kid to get him back to where he's supposed to, and things go wrong. A small, stupid complaint that has nothing to do with my grade whatsoever that I was confused about was this kid is at a club with his friends when he's 14 years old, and he's ordering drinks from the bar. Wherever he's at, in India or Bangladesh or whatever, they must have no laws on drinking, because this kid looks nothing like 18 or 19 or 21. I thought that was kind of weird that his friends didn't invite him. And not just that, but his schoolyard crush is at that bar too, and she's drinking. That seemed like they were trying to push them into more adult characters. It's a small, stupid nitpick of mine, but it was something that I was like, what's going on?
Well, I got to stop you there and say that that's your experience as an American. But for anyone who's foreign or international, again, I was born in Puerto Rico. My mother's from Dominican Republic, so I got family overseas. Savannah's family's from Mexico. There's different parts of the world, bro, where you ain't getting carded, all right? And especially if you've got money like that kid does, because his dad obviously was a crime boss, right? He's in jail. There's certain parts of the world, man, where money talks. It doesn't matter how you are. And you know what? I'll take it a step further.
But all his friends and this girl he's got a crush on, I just looked it up. Drinking age in India, 21.
I'm sure it is, but I'm about to drop a bomb on you right now. I could care less. I've seen rappers, okay, and you know what? I'll drop the name. When Tiger was dating Kylie Jenner, was it or whatever? They were here in Vegas. We were transporting them and their whole crew, and they were going to clubs. What is Kylie Jenner doing with first of all, a Tiger when she was like 16 or 17 at the time? Look it up when they were dating, and she was at clubs all the time here in Vegas. It happens.
So I can justify 17 or 18. But 13 or 14, it's not even that big of a deal because I don't want to make this review about that. But
no. That's what you're saying.
Weird to me.
To me, I just think because of my experiences being
they could have found, because that location had nothing to do with the film. It had nothing to do with the plot. No. They could have found any other location, going to the park or whatever it is, drinking with friends, not in a public place. To me, that was just really weird. And if it was his stature and his money and whatever, how in the world does how he gets kidnapped? How does that get allowed right outside the door? If they can't, they're worried about him enough to let him get a drink at 13, but no one's watching him outside. It was just, for me, it was a weird location for that part. It had nothing to do with the movie, and like I said, it means nothing about my opinion of the movie, but it was kind of a weird thing.
Right, and I think to me it just didn't. I remember they used to call me Dominican York, okay, in Dominican Republic. I got sent back when I was probably 12 or 13, as a matter of fact. And I got in trouble for some stuff I did when I was younger. My mom
you were going to the club drinking, right?
No. I got sent to Dominican Republic from New York because I got in trouble for like a year and a half, 2 years, right? Bro, I could literally do what I wanted. No joke. I would walk around. My cousin was 18, 19. We were driving out there with no driver's license. It didn't matter, man. I was American, I promise you. And it's one of those things where you're like, anybody that's from those parts of the world know that affluence and buys a lot of influence. Okay, we'll just leave that at that. But I understand
let's move on to more important parts of the movie.
I understand your argument there.
I don't want to get into any spoilers, obviously. So what were some of the most interesting parts? What were some of the most interesting performances or favorite parts of this film?
I know what you're gonna say because I know you're like, oh, that's who you are. But for me, Amir put on such a great performance, and he was such a really menacing bad guy to the point. And I'm sorry that this shouldn't be spoilerish, but he's got kids that work for him. And again, if you watch, I think it was Toy Soldiers. There was a documentary on Netflix or something like that. How in other parts of the world they do have these kids that work for street gangs or whatever as early as 12, 13 years old, picking up guns, and they're part of the gangs and they're selling drugs and doing everything that's will be. And this guy is ruthless. He is ruthless with these kids. He is ruthless with everybody that works for him. And he doesn't care. This is an enemy son that he is kidnapped, and he wants to get him killed, and he doesn't care at any cost. And it's funny, at one point he's got this general in his pocket, and he's not general, it's a colonel, and he's he said lock down the borders, and that's not spoilerish because we do see that in the trailer, and he tells him that's impossible, and he's like, you better make it possible. You know what I mean? Like, oh wow, like yo, he calls the shots. And I just like how he's menacing, but not too over the top. At any time, he said he's in control. These guys are in his neck of the woods. He understands it. He wouldn't be this comfortable if he was in India, right? But he's in his neck of the woods. He's in Bangladesh, and he's like, look, you know what, man? They can't touch me here. They got to get out of my city. They got to get out of my area. You know what I mean? So it was really, really cool. I think that for me, I don't want to spoil it, but well, no, I guess it makes sense because Chris Hemsworth and all his people are mercenaries. So you work for the highest bidder, so to speak. You know what I mean? Because again, Chris Hemsworth being a father at first takes on this job simply. He's really cold and callous because he's paid to do so. He doesn't care about this kid at first. It's a paycheck. It's a bag for him. And I was like, wow, really? But then he has that arc, so you can understand later on that maybe he started off there, but that's not where he ended up. And like you say, a lot of times in movies, you shouldn't end up where you started. Okay, there should be some kind of character arc, and you do see him have that. But man, I don't know, if you're a mercenary, are you going to walk into a situation where that 99.9% of you're going to get killed, man? There's no way. I wouldn't have taken that job. Are you kidding me?
Now, without getting into spoilers once again, you see in the trailer he jumps off that cliff and he's in that water and it looks like he's meditating. And this is in the first 5 minutes of the movie. He is he's remembering and trying to forget the fact that his own kid obviously had passed away, had done something, and he feels the guilt for that. So he mentions in all his conversation, for the most part, he would love to go. He would love to move on or whatever. And so that's why I can see why he has no problem being the mercenary, because he kind of wants a reason to die, in my opinion. And if he doesn't die, then he makes a bunch of money and he could drink his sorrows away. But I mean, this guy, he's always got a drink. The lady tells him to come to the meeting sober. He does, but then he goes to this other person's office and starts pouring himself a drink while they're talking about the mission. I mean, this guy just doesn't care. So in that it does make sense. For other people, it doesn't. I did not like the storyline with what happened with all the different people trying to come after the kid. That's all I'm going to say. I understand why they did it, and I understand you've got to make this movie more interesting. And I don't really blame it on the director, because I thought the director did a great job of choosing those locations, choosing those shots and those action sequences. I just thought that, there was it was just a misfire for me as far as the story goes. But I don't watch Netflix movies for the great stories. I'm not expecting Christopher Nolan-esque films. And for Netflix movies, I thought it was really, really good overall. I thought it was very entertaining. I was very blown away by all the action. That, for me, was more than enough to stay engaged in this film than all the different things that were going on. I will say, you mentioned Amir, the bad guy. He recruits this one older kid with the scar on his face. And I'm not sure if that actor naturally has that scar, if they just did that makeup-wise. But that small little detail, for me, was really cool, because it made this character more unique. And it made this character more, I'm going to remember what he looks like. He looks like a menacing young kid. He looks like someone who doesn't really give a crap, but he also does give a crap. And so I liked that minor character. I thought they developed most of the characters well enough with just a short amount of time. And so overall, I really enjoyed it.
I guess the only other thing that I would say, but I guess it just makes sense in this fast-paced movie, like you said, sometimes it was like the action was nonstop. This was probably one of the longest action scenes from the time when Chris Hemsworth breaks the kid out from where he's being held captive to when the whole thing ends. It's probably a good 30 minutes of the movie. I'd say 25, 30 minutes of the movie, because it doesn't just take place in one location. It's him getting him out and then getting the car and trying to get away and then going to the rendezvous spot. And it was insane. But David Harbour, they announced him as well. I expected to see him a lot more in this film. I will say I loved what I saw of him out of this film. I'm excited to see what he's going to do with Red Guardian, okay, and Black Widow when it drops. Whoever knows when that's going to happen. But, for the most part, we know David Harbour from
Stranger
Things. I was gonna say Sacred Games, from Stranger Things. And he's always he's your cop, he's your jolly good guy, and he's got a endearing nature about him, right, where he wants to do the right thing or whatnot. And here he plays an ex-mercenary who's Chris Hemsworth's friend as well. And just seeing him in that role was so different. But I was like, man, he's got some acting chops on it. I love it. But he was in again. He was in for like 10 minutes or so. Come on, Netflix. You're more profitable than Disney at this point. All right. You can afford to play these actors more. I don't know what it is, but give them some more dialogue in there. Give them some more scenes. It can't be a matter of the check they cut him.
You got to check David Harbour. What was the film? He played a minor role in a Jamie Foxx movie. What was that movie? That was awesome. Let me look it up real quick. That is a film that you got to watch. David Harbour in. This is before Stranger Things. I'm going to look it up, but that was a really good performance. That's probably, and he has more screen time in that movie. That's kind of what we probably should have gotten.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, man, I think this was a great film. again, drop into Netflix. I love Netflix's model too. Maybe it's because we've become immersed in Indian film and the way they do it in Bollywood, where they drop the trailer and you get to watch the movie a month down. It wasn't like that Netflix dropped this trailer and we waited a year for it or 6 months for it. No, they dropped the trailer and we got it a month later, a month and a half later. And that's, to me, it keeps the excitement, you know what I mean, going. So I like that about it, and I'm very, very excited to see some of the other things that they are going to put. I mean, I read supposedly that because Disney Plus is coming out and the Peacock is coming out, or Disney Plus is already out, but the Peacock is coming out, and not Hollywood, I mean HBO Max is coming out, that Netflix is doubling down and going to produce some more of their own content.
But they can't film anything right now, so I would hope that they would hold back a little bit and stretch it out so it can last.
You know what? I mean, I guess. What do? Do you do what if you're Netflix? That's a good question. Do you do what the studios do, which is right now everybody's pushing their films back as far as they can, or do you say, you know what, people are home, people are hungry, let's get this money now, whereas out there, let's get these subs, because who knows?
I don't understand the model of Netflix. If you're going for subscriptions, then drop 1 or 2 decently good movies each month so you can bring in those subscriptions. They drop movies like sometimes 8 or 9 a month, it seems like. They just dropped an animated movie my kids are watching downstairs right now with Ricky Gervais and whatnot. That looks pretty funny. They're dropping way too much right now, in my opinion, for what's going on. They need to stretch it out. Now, maybe they have so much on the shelf that now they're going to just put on there. I have no idea. A really popular show is called Love is Blind. It's a dating show, and that was on the shelf for like 2 years before it finally got produced. So maybe, who knows? But the movie I was looking for is called Sleepless with Jamie Foxx. That was a really good movie. So let's go ahead and talk about our grade, because this is a non-spoiler review. We can't get too long. I'm ready to give it a grade. I'm going to give this movie, and again, Netflix film, not a theatrical release. I'm going to give this film a B. A solid B.
Solid B. Okay. Well, you know what?
I was the action.
The action was amazing, and again, the performance by Chris Hemsworth alone was good enough to give it that B for me as well. But I've got to give it an A-, not just because of Chris Hemsworth's performance, but I really, really enjoyed Amir's performance. The character that plays Amir, I got to look up his name. That's the kid the one that plays Awi, the kid, Rudhraksh Jaiswal. I'm excited to see him in the future. He's really, really good. And the character that plays Amir, the main bad guy, is Payush Katai, I believe. And he was really, really, really good. And I think that a lot of time with films, it's got to be.
I love how you say these names.
Yeah, I'm brutal with it, man. But a lot of times with films, okay, it's got to be your personal preference. All right. I'm not gonna sit there and watch a 4-hour or 3-hour love story and if I do, it's gonna be reviewed. I'm gonna be honest, and be like, oh, I didn't enjoy love. But did this have gratuitous violence? It did. Was it fast paced? It was. Was there a lot of action? It was. Was there, a really compelling villain? There was. It was everything that makes a good film to me. So for me, I'm always gonna grade those films higher. So I'm gonna give it an A-. And I respect your B, and I do see the flaws. I understand what you're saying, pertaining to well, I think I brought up Pankaj Tripathi wasn't in it as much as we'd like. You mentioned David Harbour wasn't in it as much as we like, and the location of the club. I know we're going to agree to disagree. It didn't bother me, but I could see how it could bother others, especially since it wasn't a part of the story. So was it a great story? No. But you know what? Blame that on the Russos, because the Russos wrote this, not the director. The director did a great job.
I'm not sure if they wrote it.
I believe it said. I thought it said written by.
Oh yeah, Joe Russo. You're right.
Joe Russo.
So let us know what your thought is on this film. Let us know if you liked it or not. It's out there right now on Netflix. If you haven't checked it out yet, check it out, and then let us know your thoughts. We appreciate you watching this, and as always, until next time,
we know all things.